Alright, welcome to the channel and to the Speedy Space Marine series. Today we're going to be looking at the World Eaters, a crazed and ferocious legion cursed by the Butcher's nails, and today we're going to get them on the tabletop in 30 minutes or less. All the paints you'll need will be listed below in the description, so let's get into it. Alright, starting off from a grey primer, we're going to take some Armour blue and we're going to apply this over the shoulders and over the top of the backpack, or that centralized big plate at the back. This will likely take 2, possibly even 3 thin coats. It does look a bit baby blue here over the grey, but I can assure you it is definitely a stronger blue than that. So apply this in 2 or 3 even coats. I'm using a size 2 Artist Opus Series S here to ensure I can hold a lot of paint on the brush and get through this step quite quickly. Try to stay within the lines. If you have to go back and clean it up, just grab some of your primer and apply that over the top. Now we're going to do some chipping and weathering here. We're going to use some blister foam for this and some Rhinox hide. So I tear off a piece of blister foam and I kind of wrap it round just to create a more interesting shape. I dip some of it into the Rhinox hide and then test it on my skin first to see what size the dots are going to be. I'm then going to work around my model, applying chips and battle damage to basically all of the armor panels. You can be as liberal with this as you like. Really just depends on how rough and how damaged you want your marine to appear. So you can see I'm getting different size chips, some bigger, some smaller. Creates this nice random effect across the model. We're then going to grab some Abaddon black and paint over all of the areas that are going to be silver, and also get the bits of rubberized tubing or whatever those flexible parts are within the armor. We're going to paint those with Abaddon black as well. Ensure you get a nice even coat over these sections. Try not to hit the white armor as best as you can. So it's all those rubberized sections, the tubing in the backpack, all of the silver components in the backpack as well. And if your marine happens to have any additional tubing, wiring or anything like that across the model, paint it in Abaddon black as well. This should take possibly 1 or 2 coats depending on your coverage and how much you've thinned your paint. We're also going to apply that to sort of like the heat sink place across the back of the backpack, and then we're going to apply it all over the gun, getting the metallic sections and the gun casing. Again, trying not to hit the hands. So coming in with some exhaust manifold from Vallejo metal color. Fantastic metallic colors, cover so well, so easy to work with. And then I have my Artist Opus Series M size 2. This brush is large enough that it holds enough paint that I can quickly work around the model without, you know, hitting other parts of the details. It gives me that control that I need in these smaller sections. Apply this all over the areas that you want to be silver, so that's that buckling around the chest, the exhausts and whatnot across the backpack, the heatsink thing along the top. So this should go on in 1 or 2 even coats. Generally I can get away with using 1 because it applies so well. We're also going to paint the rivets or bolts on the shoulder as well. Try not to get this on the blue best as you can. I find it easy to sort of trace around, or easier to trace around kind of the top and the bottom, and then fill in anything that I might have missed using that process. Apply this to your bolter as well. We're going to hit the magazine, the butt of the gun, the barrel, and any additional details within it. If you go over any of the Abaddon black, do not worry, you can come back in and clean that up. We're now going to take some Abaddon black and thin that down to a wash consistency. You can use Nuln Oil or your favorite black wash for this, but we're just going to apply this all over the metallics to create some definition within the pieces and also to darken down that shine. Just apply this in various areas. Ensure you get a nice even coverage, get it into the recesses, help to create that structure, definition and shape within these areas. Whenever you're applying it to the bolter, you can just apply it all over the top. You don't have to worry about it changing the tint, the finish or anything like that, and that's why I prefer to use thinned Abaddon black over a black wash. We're then going to grab some Rhinox hide and we're going to start to apply this over the metallic areas. This just gives the impression of some rust, grease, oil, debris, whatever else would build up over the course of the battle. We're also going to apply this into the rubberized sections that we just painted black to act as kind of like a recess shade, but also gives the impression of, you know, that dirt, grime that build up throughout the course of the battle. We're also going to apply this to the gun, getting all those silver sections coated to give that rusty impression. We're then going to come in with some Mournfang brown and repeat the process, covering slightly less area. Again, putting this into the rubberized sections. This just helps to emphasize that rusty, grim dark look to our marine. And you can see I'm not being too careful with how I apply this, because if you get it on some of the bolts and it streaks down, it kind of gives that impression of some like running oil or grease on the model. I've then got some Tallarn sand and I'm applying this as a recess shade, so I've thinned this down and I'm applying it between the sections of the armor panel. So taking advantage of the capillary action, allowing it to flow into the recesses and those bits of information and whatnot in the model, just to help to create that definition and separation within the panels. Now you can be a wee bit more liberal with this in areas, and I'll start to create this tint towards the white armor, give it that kind of more grimy look, but we're going to build on that in the next couple of steps as well. So if you're not too careful with this, don't worry. We're now coming in with some heavily thinned Mournfang brown. This is really heavily thinned, so I cannot emphasize that enough. It is super heavily thinned. I've then got my size 2 Artis Opus Series S because it has a nice full belly and can hold plenty of this wash. Wick off some of the excess onto a paper towel so I have some good control, and I'm just going to start applying this all over the armor panels in various areas. I'm not using it as a tint for the whole area of the armor panel. I'm kind of selecting areas that would build up some dirt, some grime, some rust, some dried blood potentially for our world eaters, and using this to sort of tint some of that white armor and bring about that more grim, dark, battle-worn look. Taking some of our Rhinox hide, I've thinned this down quite a lot as well. I'm using this to create that streaking effect down from some of those rivets or bolts in the shoulders. So I'm just thinning it, then I'm sort of cleaning my brush, wicking away some of it, trying to avoid any heavy coffee staining, but just applying it quite liberally and seeing what happens. Grabbing some Khorne red, we're going to paint in the eye lenses. Try to be as careful as you can here so you don't get it over the white armor. And then we're going to take some Evil Sunz Scarlet and we're going to start to apply some highlights into the lenses. So I'm targeting the inner corner of the lens and then the lower edge of the lens. Take your time whenever you're doing this, ensure you get a nice even coat and apply it just to the inner corner and lower edge. Then taking some Marduk yellow and mixing that with my Evil Sunz Scarlet and applying an additional highlight towards the inner corner and lower edge, covering slightly less space. And then mixing whatever was left in my brush with the Marduk yellow, I'm going to apply a highlight just to the inner corner of the lens. Grab yourself some titanium white, thin this down so you can create a nice small dot on your fingernail. Then I brace and I try to apply the dot confidently to the rear corner of the lens. So again, just bracing and applying a confident dot to the rear corner of the lens. And then you get this. So I think this is a super fun and fast representation of the World Eaters. So I think this grim, dark, white stained armor really helps to represent how the World Eaters are portrayed in the books. After the butcher's nails implants, they're all crazed, ready for battle. They don't care about keeping their armor pristine or anything like that. They're just about hitting the battlefield and going absolutely ham. So here he is on the spinny thing. Like I said, I think this is a great representation. You can see how nice the blues work with this as well, because we've brought in so many warm tones from the Rhinox hide, the Mournfang brown, the Tallarn sand, all helping to complement each other, with even with the red eyes coming into play. But digging this scheme, digging the result, really enjoyed it. Looking forward to seeing your World Eaters on the tabletop. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Hopefully you found that useful. If you have any comments, questions or suggestions for future videos, please drop them below in the comments. And if you want to take your painting to the next level, I have a Patreon that's focused around feedback and coaching. You also get access to exclusive guides and content. If you want to show me what you've been working on or what you've been using these videos for, please head over to the Discord and drop some pics into the whips or the completed projects. I would love to see what you've been doing. Just want to say thank you again for watching, and I'll catch you at the next one. All links can be found below in the description.